Hi, this is Charlie Mato-Toyela with Blue Bear Flutes. Of course, bluebearflutes.com. You can find us on Facebook, Blue Bear Flutes, Blue Bear Arts, and of course all over social media and anything else you can find. Anyway, this is basically another video in our series, The Secrets of the Native American Flute. And today I wanted to share with you a little bit of information about the way that flutes were made in the past, the way that they're made in the present, and of course the differences between one style and another style of making flutes. Basically this has to do with how the flute's put together. So a lot of people ask me, even yesterday I think I was talking to someone, he asked me, are our flutes made out of a solid piece of wood? And immediately, of course, I knew why he was asking. Many of you may not know, however, there are, of course, flute makers out there, some of the largest flute making companies around, who use a machine that bores a hole into a piece of wood and makes a flute out of that rather than splitting it in half. And what splitting it in half means is that basically the way that people used to do it thousands of years ago, the flute is actually made out of a piece of wood that has been cut in half and the inside of it has been taken out. And like I say, the modern type of this system, basically they have a shotgun boring machine and they have a large square piece of wood, kind of like this would be if I hadn't cut it already. And they drive the boring machine up into the wood and it cuts a hole inside of it, just like using a hand drill, but of course a little more technical and a lot more expensive, right guys? But anyway, so they use that machine and they bore the hole inside of it, and it doesn't require the flute maker to adhere the flute back together, to glue it back together, if you would. Okay, so a lot of people say, well, does the glue let loose? Does the glue turn loose? Well, first of all, you know, the glue that Native American people used hundreds and thousands of years ago, the pre-Columbian Indians, it didn't turn loose, and it's not quite as advanced as the glue that we use today. The glue I use today, I tell people, you know, it says on the side of the bottle this stuff is heat resistant, waterproof, and one of the grades of glue we use is fireproof. So in other words, if your flute burned up in a house fire, hope it doesn't, but if it were to burn up in some type of fire or something, the glue would still remain, which is pretty good to say. However, like I say, there are a number of reasons why you would want to ask your flute maker, is your flute made out of a solid piece of wood or is it made out of two pieces put together? Of course, if you know this process in the first place, I don't know why you would know it if you're just a flute buyer, not a flute maker or a flute player. The flute, or like I say, originally natives split the wood in half because that's what we could do. We didn't have any tools to bore, you know, up inside of something that was so long. We did have drills hundreds and of course thousands of years ago. The drills were used to drill the fingerings, obviously. However, the flutes, some of the oldest ones I've seen personally and that I know about, 1800 years old, 3,000 years old, a couple of them that were still split in half and put back together. The reason that Indians did it in the old days was because they had to. If they had the machines on hand, would they have been, boring flutes out? I'm not sure. I'm really not, because I don't do it that way for a few reasons. One of the reasons I like to have mine split in half, of course, is because that's the way Native American flutes were originally made. Another reason I like to do that is because of a few things that I can do to the inside of the flute that may not be as easy or even feasible at all to someone who is boring it out. So we like to, you see this fiber down here? That fiber exists sometimes whether you bore it out or if you split it in half. But there's a few things that we can do that you can't do to the inside of a flute conveniently, to my knowledge, without splitting it first. And of course, like I say, there's always the purpose of checking this kind of thing out. We do like to burn the inside of the flute, which hardens it. And if you'll notice on the inside of every flute that we make, it's a little darker in there than it is on the outside for this obvious reason. Also, I like to check the area up here where the air supply comes in, because it does make a difference. If there's some loose fibers up there or something that could cause a problem down the road, there's actually some on this one that I'll be sanding out. then we'll make sure that they're taken care of. So that's another good reason to, of course, do it the way we do. And like I said, you know, it's something to consider. Now, with regards to the way the flute looks, of course, gluing it back together, most people that do that have a pretty good talent of making it so that you cannot see the seam of the flute. This one here is nearly invisible, even to my eye, which I would consider to be pretty well trained. And something to consider, like I say, is how the flute is made. One other thing that I've heard, which is kind of a funny thing, is that the flute makers who bore their flute out don't glue anything together. And this is the part that I really wanted to stress to you guys and let you know that's not quite true. When you make a flute, a Native American flute, whether you make it out of a piece of material that grows hollow, like this river cane here, one of the most used types of materials by Native Americans to make flutes in the old days, whether you make it out of something like this, or if you make it out of a piece of wood, the nature of the Native American flute is that there has to be some type of block. The mouthpiece has to be over here, and when you blow through it, the air comes up and goes across a track. Most of you know how flutes are made, and then it goes across this piece right here. Well, what about this? What about this piece in here? The solid piece that you see on our flute that is not glued right there, I mean, this sucker is, certainly don't have glue on it, but it's one solid chunk of wood. On a flute that is bored out, actually is a little dowel that has been pushed up inside of there and glued into place. And I have seen probably more of those loose, leaking air or falling out than I have my own flutes falling apart from glue, which I don't know if I've ever seen any of my own flutes do that, but I have seen some of those dowels come out. But like I say, neither here nor there, however you choose to have your flute made, or if that's even a consideration when you consider how the flute sounds, keep in mind that on the ones that are solid bored, there is a plug up here that has been glued into place. So there is glue in the flute, in the most critical, vital part of the flute, and one of the most important parts of how the flute is made. So, like I said, just something to think about, and I hope that this video has helped to make you understand how the two different types of flutes are made. Of course, the newer type, once again, is one that a lot of people prefer. I'm not really sure why, other than maybe the seam or what have you, but once again, you know, those of us that follow along with tradition, we like to make them split in half, and that's something that I think makes it a Native American flute. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. Of course, we have more to come, and certainly lots of really amazing videos out there on the Native American flute that we have put out, and also music videos that are just amazing. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and certainly if you have any questions or any information you'd like to know more about how flutes are made, if you can't find it in our videos, please send me a message on our website or Facebook or whatever you've got to do to get a hold of me. Once again, this is Charlie Mato-Toyela signing out for Blue Bear Flutes, bluebearflutes.com, and certainly look forward to seeing you again very soon. Y'all take care.